Sure.
Welcome the three of you to our group discussion. Perhaps we do a short introduction round where you can have a short speed introduction of all of you so that we know whom is around the table. And then we'll be looking forward to have some conversation on the future of how human resources will develop and how recruitment is developing over the current time and in future.
Thank you again, Mario. Parul and Mario know me. Hi, Elnas.
Hi,
I'd be
nice
happy.
to meet you.
Likewise. I am Srishta. I live in Zurich and I come from, so my background is primarily in life sciences. I come from life sciences clinical research background, but I come more from the learning and development, operational management, and core human resource in the industry. In Switzerland, I have worked in recruitment and business development for talent management. And yeah, it is absolutely interesting for me to be a part of discussion which rotates and revolves around the recruitment, the human resource industry. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Shashta. So perhaps then we start, or we continue with Elnas on the screen.
Okay, thank you. So I am Elnas Kamufo Mashadi. So Elnas is absolutely fine. And so my background is actually also more focused on the life science industry, pharmaceutical industry, biotechnology, medical devices, and diagnostics. And yes, so within the 17 years, I've been mostly focused on headhunting and sourcing. And at some point, I changed the perspectives and try to understand how the recruiting process is actually working within the companies, within the industry. And so I decided in 2019, October 2019, to run my own business with another colleague to match these two, peer groups together. So the external recruiting and the internal ones to get more, involved and to get a more attention and more sense for the candidate journey, candidate experience, and the whole recruiting process. So yes, so within the wide range of human resources, I'm focused on recruiting, talent acquisition, and employer branding. And I'm based in Frankfurt.
Great.
I'm not born but raised
Thank
here.
you.
Okay.
I just saw. I'm not sure if it is just my
No,
myself.
No.
But I think we lost Carol
You just lost
along the way. But I think we can include her later on in the discussion without any problem. So nice to have you here.
again.
And I see
There
her
she's back.
joining again. Hello, Carol. Here you are
Sorry,
again.
I don't know what's wrong with my internet today. So
Yeah, don't worry. So I think we all heard that sentence quite a lot over the last month in remote working. So don't worry at all.
yeah.
So perhaps if you would like to introduce yourself briefly, and then we come to some. We have selected some 5-6 questions that we can discuss in our group.
Yeah. So originally, Shrestha and Mario, of course, know a little bit about me. So essentially for you, Elnas, I don't come from a recruitment background. Actually, I come from social media and digital marketing background, more on the content side. But then with Swiss Himmel, I have been doing a little bit of recruitment, and it's new, but yeah, it's quite interesting for me now to get into the technology side of recruitment. And I do see a lot of changes in terms of how the tech talent is now responding to the queries. So yeah, it's a very interesting topic for me now to get fully involved into, and that's why I'm here. And it's really nice to connect with you all on this topic.
So cool. I'm excited to learn more, because what I'm trying to do actually is to connect recruiting and content, and to build a content recruiting. And I think this is where the future is going within the recruiting industry. Yeah. So very excited to hear what you are, your perspective from social media and content and marketing related to recruiting.
I think this is already an interesting question, perhaps to come to our discussion. So I think, as far as I see it, that of course, the more content you create, and the better the candidates are informed. So, how do you see the employee experience? So I think this is a widely discussed and bullet point in the industry. So how do you see this? And perhaps, Parul, Elnas, if you're in this, how do you see content related to that?
I think it is getting more and more important because, talents, and no matter what kind of generation. So when we talk about the wide or the holistic generations within the talent, within the war of talents, so content getting more and more important because everyone wants to be hired by a company for a function that is with impact, that has an impact. The company has an impact, and so I think it is getting more and more important to build a content for the employer brand, and have your company, your values, your employer value proposition in the focus to attract talents, and stop reacting and start acting.
Yeah.
I mean, what I gather is that the tone of the content is what I see like a lot different than what it used to be. It's no more like formal marketing for the companies.
Exactly.
It's more personal. So you must have noticed there are a lot of posts on LinkedIn now from the employees. Every time somebody joins a company, they would come up with like, "Oh, this is like I'm super excited to join this," and that's where I see the whole content thing playing a huge part in the recruitment. It's getting personal. It's getting more close, basically employees connection, that kind of thing. So in terms of content, I would say that it's no more like just the company branding. It's more employee related branding now that they are doing.
Absolutely. I think all the terminologies that Elnas just used were just music to my ears. Everything that he said, it sounded so musical to me because these are, at least for me, I think some of the most interesting topics in the wide pool of human resources. So they were very, very musical. Thank you very much for bring that to the table.
Happy to hear that I'm not alone with my vision and the idea of where the recruiting is going through.
No, this is the reality. I mean, accept it or not. This is where recruitment is going, and this is where I think creative and innovative recruitment is going. If we are stepping out of the old school recruitment process, this is where we are going, and this is more fun.
Absolutely. And I think that to build this bridge with the industry, the companies, no matter if you're a small, medium-sized company or a startup or a corporate one, and the current or future talents, that is for us recruiters and nice place to be right now. Many things are going on, and so we can have our footprint and hopefully getting this to another level. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If I may ask Elnas one thing, I mean, this is Ashish had also mentioned in his presentation, and I was kind of thinking that. And when you're talking about it from recruitment point of view, but do you think this, because of this whole pandemic and this whole change of tonality, in terms of communication, the employers' branding has like lowered or improved in the sense that now, see, we are doing, even the big companies are doing what the startup, the cool companies were supposed to be doing, right? So where does the big companies branding in terms of employees branding like stand now?
So it depends. So I think when you see what you actually want to know is how the big ones, try to transform their, more conservative image within a more, casual startup one.
Okay, yeah.
So it always depends. There are industries it is not possible, or they do it, not wisely. And to be honest, I think the pharmaceutical industry is one of those. So there is a lot of room for improvement. But when you more, see how other companies more in the technology industries, or also the industrial automation, etc., is doing more to shape their, image. But I think within the pharmaceutical industry, there is room for improvements. There is one company I would like to mention that I think they are doing it quite good, is Merck. So they have really a huge focus on their employer brand. So starting with their shareholder, who is, you know, branding himself for the company. And that is something that I'm always trying to mention when I'm in meetings with managers, that recruiting is a mindset, and it starts with a high level management, to give them the sense of everywhere you are in a recruiting process. So every person you meet, and you're branding you and your company as well. But the pharmaceutical industry is, still room for improvement.
Yeah. But I think
Definitely.
pharmaceutical industry is also one of the industries which has gained the most out of this pandemic. No, I mean, in
Exactly.
terms of business. So they not, I mean, as much as they have the necessity to perhaps improve in this area, or perhaps focus in this area, I think they now also have the budget to do it. This is what I think.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think when they start doing it, it's going to be like the big boom
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone is going
Yeah,
to
you're
be.
absolutely right. When they are starting to doing it, and they have to. So what we try to do is, especially more the small, medium-sized ones, or the still family-owned ones,
Yeah.
to give them the sense of they have to do something, because especially when you are looking within the medical functions. So when I focus on Germany, so we have approximately 400,000 physicians in Germany. So
Wow.
in a country with 80 million population, and it is getting less and less, and then you want them to do, to be your medical doctor and working in the industry as well, it's not going to work. So we have to shift our mindset, and to be, so especially in Germany or the German speaking countries, we have to be also more open for, talents outside of our country, and to give them the opportunity, to start here as a professional. So we are still um, in still not that open to integrate
Inter-
foreigner
International
professionals or
talent.
talents.
But something that I would just say out of my experience, I think Germany is still one of those countries which is far more open than many other European
Really?
countries. Yes, absolutely. This is pure out of my, just out of my experience. I mean, we have been, I have seen so many international talent coming into Germany, integrating, working successfully, and walking forward in a positive professional
Mm.
path, which is beyond imagination in many other European countries for many other reasons. I mean, could be language, could be
Exactly.
I don't know, visa norms, could be anything, could be various reasons, but Germany is still doing it to a good extent, and I think there is still a huge room for doing it more.
Definitely. So I've recently saw a discussion within the parliament regarding blue cards.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I think, is this still something that we have to discuss? This is something that has to be usual and not discussable, because otherwise we're getting, the war of talents getting worse. Yeah.
Thanks for the insights. I think very interesting ones. Perhaps if I think for the last minutes we could also change to a topic that of course is also difficult for all of us, as we've been working close with our workmates, whilst today mostly they are online. What do we do as recruiters, as human resource managers, if things do not work out like they should? So I think now human resources has some kind of the scope of being, let's say, the place for resolving conflicts, of change management, a lot of functions perhaps that have not been included previously in the human resource job role. So how do you see things if they do not go out as well as they should?
Okay, this is my take, but I think there is always a possibility of things not to pan out the way we plan, even in a real office.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have never, maybe it is because of the jobs that I have done in the past. I have never myself, just myself, huh? Just talking about myself. I've never found virtual workplace uh, new or unique, because like I also mentioned a little bit during my presentations, there are teams where people are sitting across different geographies, across different time zones, but working in the same project. And it has been this way pre-pandemic, through the pandemic, post pandemic, and it will remain this way for the coming years. So the conflict that I think you mentioned, Mario, could happen in a live office setup as well as in a virtual setup. And in my opinion, like I mentioned earlier as well, communication is the only way of
Exactly.
resolving it. Communication person to person, through a WebEx, through a Zoom call, through a phone call, preferably not through an email. What do you guys think?
Absolutely agree. So I think communication is the key, whether you have a virtual meeting or conversation or a face to face. So I think the fact that when you meet someone in person or when you're in an office, so you get more the vibration if everything is going
Hmm.
or everything is okay, or rather there is something that you have to be focused. So in a virtual one, you have to be, read between the lines
Hmm.
and get more sensitive of how you get messages. And sometimes it is not sometimes, so actually it always worth it to, give someone a call to have a better idea of what is going on. Yes, and so I think that might be challenging, but it is not a challenge for real when used to act with human beings. So it's
I
not.
feel the same. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for these insights. And perhaps another interesting question. So also I know from your background, Elnas, that you're also working with artificial intelligence. I think artificial intelligence, big data are also big buzzwords in human resources, currently in recruitment, human resources, whatever, both of them. So how do you think these technologies will help companies to be better in their recruitment or in their human resource management?
I'm sure that this one will be a vehicle for the future. So for the moment, it is still in a starting phase. To be honest, so I've tested some of those, but they are still, not running really good. But there are good ones out there. So especially for people analytics, for example, to get some more, a better understanding of the skills, or not just have your feelings to decide if you want to hire someone. You have database decisions. So And for high volume recruiting, this is really helpful. So to parse the CVs and, to build an artificial intelligence platform or tool who is also, helping the recruiters to select and screen, because this is something that is really challenging when you have high volume recruitings. And so there are many fields within HR where AI will have an impact. And I think that this field will growing. So starting with the, you know, uh, some startups focusing on application tracking systems and try to involve AI within it. But as I mentioned, so it is in a starting phase. I think so. Within the few years, things get um, more and more interesting.
Yeah. I also believe AI, I don't know, you can perhaps add more data to it, Elnaz. AI is also going to play, or does perhaps already play, a huge role in performance management, in I don't know, bigger organizational change managements and learning and development. I see
Mhm.
AI, like what I see, read here, is playing a huge role in the learning and management system, typically now, because of everything going virtual and there is
Exactly.
nothing live anymore. There is perhaps a very faint chance of having a live training, I think, and using various technologies, personalized badges, personalized training material. Um, I think AI is taking over everything.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, actually, I have a slightly different, like basically perspective on this. I feel the more AI we use in recruitment, the more challenging it's going to be for the recruiters to not miss out on the good talent, actually, because, or also, like, they have to train the candidates, before any interview or something, so that they pass the first test of this AI, and because even now we hear a lot of cases where we miss, like, the companies miss out on good talent because the resume was not up to the um, uh, automatic tracking system or something, so I think it will also bring a lot of responsibility on recruiters, basically, to be able to train the candidate to pass that first level of test.
Definitely. So I think this is an interesting case example. I've also heard a case example recently that they trained the artificial intelligence with the previous job owners, and by coincidence, all of them were male people in a certain age range, and so they didn't think about this. So the artificial intelligence then concluded that this job can just be done by a male person in this age range, and of course they excluded all female applicants, for instance.
Not only
So
the
of course
female ones.
they
So
got
yeah. So I've
at some point,
recently,
but of course these things could happen.
yeah. So I've recently had a discussion about how to, you know, build. So that is another field. So when we're talking about AI in recruiting, I think it's getting more and more important. When we're talking about how to, um, build the teams who are focused on developing those recruiting AI based systems, it is more and more important to have a diverse team of, male, female, different cultures, colored. Because we recently had a discussion that there is an artificial intelligence that is only, scanning white males and no female rather than black ones. So because the white man is the default of many development or AI-based development teams, and so that is something that is, you know, on another page. So the companies who are focused in developing these systems, they have to have that sense of this wide range of diversity that we have to take care of.
That's
Yeah,
very
definitely.
interesting.
So it's,
Yeah.
and it's also interesting. I've also seen that also already business models get out of this, so that's some kind of reverse engineering, some softwares where you can put your CV, and this is also not artificial intelligence which converts your CV to make it more likely to be accepted by another
That's
AI
very
recruiting
interesting.
company. So I
That
think
I
there's a
think
lot
is an
of
asset for recruitment agency. I mean, if that could be done, but I still, yeah, there's a big room of doubt and improvement there, but very interesting.
yeah. So I think a lot of things happening. So we already arrived at the end of our half-an-hour discussion. So it was very nice to have you here and
Oh,
to
wow.
have such
Thank you for
interesting
having us.
discussions. So
Thank you
very
very
much
much.
looking forward for sure. I already heard that we already were discussing about bringing this forward, perhaps also in some podcast format or some
Yes.
interviews. So I've seen that already in our discussion. So we'll be definitely looking forward to develop on all that, and look forward to meet you the next time and have such an interesting discussion again. So wish you all a nice day and nice evening.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a wonderful weekend, all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too.
Goodbye, all of you.
Bye.
Goodbye.